Hey everyone, welcome to Ideas for Prosperity, where we discuss the ideas that will carry us forward and the ideas that are holding us back. My name is Tony Holland. Let's go.
Okay, so we're going to talk about reparations. The purpose of reparations is to end black labor dependence in this nation. Black people own about 2% of businesses in the United States of America, meaning that almost all of us have to leave our community in order to have access to a single opportunity. That is the situation for us. So we're dependent upon every other ethnic group that exists in America in order to feed ourselves. We cannot go to our neighbors. We cannot go to each other. For stability, we have no choice but to look to other groups. And other groups are obviously going to favor their direct community ties. And this is how we talk about structural racism. White folks can network within their direct community amongst each other. But black people can't, right? Jewish people can, network within each other. Muslim immigrants can network with each other. We simply do not have that ability here. We have almost 100% of us have to leave our community in order to have access to a single opportunity. And that means that we have to go through everyone's bias first. We have to do that work. We have to wear this mask. We have to turn ourselves into someone that other people are comfortable with. But we can't just comfortably exist amongst ourselves and be ourselves. That's a problem. It's a huge problem. So for me, what reparations has to be is a comprehensive program meant to end black labor dependence by at least 50% in a 10-year period. And I call for no less than $25 billion a year in investments to expand black-owned businesses, develop black-owned businesses, so that we have the types of businesses in which we can hire each other. Even the black businesses that they'll talk about, hair salons, barbershops, no one is being hired in those places. Soul food restaurants, who are mostly people hiring their families. And a lot of these soul food restaurants don't really have anything to do with American descendants of slaves, because we have to also get some things straight. When we're talking about reparations in the United States of America, we are not having a discussion about black people, right? Black people are African American. Black people are Caribbean American. Black people are African immigrants. Black people exist all over this world, but an immigrant from Africa does not have a claim for reparations in the United States of America. A Caribbean American does not have a claim for reparations in the United States of America. They have to go through the colonizers of their land. Haiti has to go through France, right? So, so for us, we are American descendants of slaves. That is who we are. Specifically, we are the American descendants of slaves. So when it comes time to discuss reparations, no other group of black people honestly even get to participate in that discussion. It's not to say that they're not here experiencing racism and that they don't deserve criminal justice. And it's not to say that we're going to abandon them if they find themselves over here experiencing economic discrimination. But we cannot reasonably expect our government to issue more money to people who have nothing to do with the claim of slavery, right? This is a lineage-based claim. We're talking about a group of people who were enslaved and for 250 years had the value of their labor stolen from their community and attributed directly to the white community, who then continued to build on top of that stolen wealth and put themselves in a position to be the most wealthy nation the world has ever seen. And that literally could not have happened if it wasn't for centuries of stolen labor from black people, and then more than 100 years of systemic racism meant to keep black people as the bottom caste of American society. and therefore stabilizing the middle class for white people. So we are owed. And let's talk about a few other things when it comes to reparations, right? There are about 8.5 million black people with a criminal record. You stand about 0.1% of a chance of ever being gainfully employed again as a black person with a felony record. So there are 8.5 million of us that are back and forth to prison. Because once you get out, you are sentenced to a life of poverty permanently. They say, oh, you paid your debt to society once your time is served. That's a lie. You continue to pay your debt to society when you are systemically shut out of educational opportunities, of federal funding for your education moving forward. And of the job market. That's the biggest thing. If you're relegated to a life of poverty, no one will hire you. Then there are only two systems in which you can survive. There is the American marketplace that provides jobs so that people can feed themselves, basically access their quality of life, the American standard. And if they cannot find a position within the American marketplace, the above board American marketplace, then their needs don't go away. Their expenses don't go away. They still have to eat. They still need clothes. They still need to be housed. They still need transportation. They still need all of these things, water, food. They need all of these things still. And they don't owe you to lay down and die. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to turn to black market activity. According to the Justice Department, 95% of all crime is driven by the conditions of poverty. So it is the poverty that the system imposes on select groups of people that is the main driving factor behind the crime. So we even have another argument when it comes to criminal justice. You cannot have criminal justice, and I'm going to say this to Black Lives Matter. You cannot have criminal justice without economic justice. Right now, we're being set up to where we can make all of these reforms, but if we don't end our labor dependence and put ourselves in a position to hire one another, the poverty that drives the crime will still exist. So we'll be setting ourselves up to where the conversation we'll be having with white people in the future is we made all of these criminal justice changes after the death of George Floyd, and you people still didn't change your behavior. The crime was just as bad as it always was. I knew it was you people. It will embolden those who we know stand against us if we do not handle the root cause, which is the economic situation that we are facing. So Black Lives Matter does criminal justice, but in my opinion, there is no such thing as criminal justice without economic justice. I'm not going to ride Black Lives Matter forever, because there is a group that has a comprehensive reparations agenda, and they're called ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. So let Black Lives Matter focus on half the issue while we build up the organization that is focused on the big picture, the root cause, reparations. Reparations is absolutely necessary. We know that these 8.5 million black people who are basically used as modern day slaves, going back and forth to prison and working for free for some of the largest corporations in the world. We know that they're not going to be employed again if we have to continue to ask white people to employ them. The only way we're going to get these 8.5 million of our brothers and sisters out of this vicious cycle of recidivism is ending our labor dependence, having a political fight to end our labor dependence. So what do you say to white people that are against reparations and are extremely racist? Let's use the most racist white folks as an example. Not to say that being racist is a prerequisite to non-support of reparations. But what you tell them is, if you want what they want, tell them what they want. Reparations gives you what you want, which is less contact with black people, less black people in your residential area, less black kids going to school with your white kids, and less black coworkers. That's what you want. And a comprehensive reparations program for the purposes of ending black labor dependence gives black people the ability to thrive amongst themselves. You end black labor dependence, you have less contact with black people. So reparations is not just for black people. It's for the people who frankly don't want us around them. And we need to be able to communicate to them that it's okay that you don't want us around you. We don't want to be where we're not welcome. Y'all are not so great that we can't imagine existing without you. We imagine existing without you every single day we're here. That is the fact of the matter. And if we work together, we can make that a reality. Now, some people will say, oh, that's segregation. But segregation is imposed by the government. Nobody is saying that black people and white people can't go to the same movie theaters, can't be friends, can't get married, can't go to school together. These things will still exist. But people, given the choice, are a bit more comfortable in their own community. And the main reason black people leave their own community is because of lack of opportunity. We're going to go where the opportunity exists. So if white America continues to support a political environment that minimizes the available opportunity for black people where they live, then they are creating the conditions in which black people are going to choose to live in other areas to have access to that opportunity. If you don't want us around you, make sure that we can thrive in our own area, and we won't be around you. But the only way to make that happen is reparations. Said if black people continued on the same course that we are now, it would take us about 260 some odd years just to build up enough wealth to actually have equity in this country. And that's just unacceptable. Our ancestors gave up enough for y'all to have a head start. I'm not going to wait 267 years of us grinding just to be equal in a land of opportunity that would not be possible if it wasn't for the rape, murder, but mainly the theft of our ancestors' labor for 250 years. That's what built America. The theft, labor theft of black people for 250 years is what built America. Reparations is absolutely necessary. We need to define ourselves as American descendants of slaves to make sure that we know exactly who we're talking about. We need the census to describe us as American descendants of slaves so that we're not always being confused. So when you see soul food restaurants, a Caribbean restaurant, you understand that a Jamaican family coming to the United States of America and opening a Jamaican restaurant or a soul food restaurant is not an example of black success, because we're inherently discussing, when we talk about black success, black poverty, black crime rates and whatnot, we're inherently talking about American descendants of slaves, keeping up with the lineage of those who were enslaved. That's what this discussion is about. So by constantly referring to us as black or African American, because anybody of African descent that immigrates here from any other nation is African American, and an immigrating here, best believe 9 times out of 10 they have resources. They don't come from the poor families in those countries. They come from the families in those countries that have money. So they're going to come here. They're going to have more wealth than what we have, and then that wealth is counted as being black wealth, making us look less destitute than we actually are. And that's just not a good look when it comes to our very reasonable and legitimate claim for reparations. So we need to make sure that we get on board, we get on message as a people when it comes to having this discussion about reparations. We have to understand what this fight is about. It's about ending labor dependence, period.
Thank you for allowing me to share some ideas for prosperity with you. I look forward to you sharing your ideas down in the comment section below. You could really help this channel grow if you enjoyed the content by hitting that like button, subscribing to this channel, and sharing the video. I look forward to sharing more ideas for prosperity with you soon.